types of switch. There are different types of switch that we have in the markets, and each of them can be used based on what you want to achieve. So we have what is called the one-way switch. This one and this one, they are called the one-way switch. Now, or you call them single or one gang. So we have what is called, this one is called the common, and this one is called what? Line one. The common and the line one. Then another type of switch that we have is what we call the two-way. So you can call it two-way switches. In that, what do we have? We have line one, and we have line two. Then this one is common. Then not that alone, this is common, this is line one, and this is line two. So this is called the two-way switches. And not that alone, we have another one called the intermediate. So for intermediate, we have line one, line two, line one, line two, line two. So you will see how I will do the connection of this now, because one of what we want to achieve in this tutorial is to know how to connect, how to use a bulb to control switch, then how to use two different switches to control a single bulb. Then how are we going to do that? So these are what we are still going to learn in this tutorial. Now, this is what is called one-way switch. Can you see? This is one-way switch. So the one-way switch is the most simple type of light switch, and it enables a single light to be turned on and off. So you can turn it on or you can turn it off. So this is what we call one-way switch. Now let's take a look at what happens when it comes to two-way switch. Now, the two-way switch is a little more involved. It means that this type of switch allows a single light to be independently switched on and off using two different switches. And a good example of this is stairs light that can be switched on and off at either the bottom or top of the stairs. So in this case, we use this type of switch called the two-way switch. Now, let's take a look at the next thing, that is three-way switch. Now, this is, you can see this is what we call three-way switch. Then how do we do the wiring now? How to wire a light switch. This time around, we are talking about the one-way switch first. Let's take a look at this diagram now. In this diagram, just as I've said, you will see that the light is coming directly here. Then the feedback is going into the bulb. The neutral is connected directly to the neutral, and you can see your hat also at the top here of the ceiling rows. So that is the way that is done. But for you to understand it better, let's if you have your switch now, let's see how the connection will be done in our switch. Let's see the common point as well as the line one. Which cable will go to common and which one will go to line one? Then how will that be achieved? Now, to understand that, let's take a look at this now. This is one-way switch now. If this is my one-way switch, the brown, which is the live now, will go directly to your common. Remember, here we have blue cable, but this blue cable in this your switch now is not the neutral. Is serving as as your feedback. So that's why you have neutral switch live, that is the feedback to the bulb. So it is this one now. This one is coming from your consumer unit, and but it is this one that will go back to your bulb, just as we have in the case of this one now. As you can see here now, that this is what we have now, that is going back to what? Going back to the bulb. So that is the way we do the connection of that. Then let's take a look at another thing which is very important. That is talking about how to wire a light switch. This time around, we are talking about two-way switch now. So in two-way switch, you are going to have common, line one, line two for the first switch. So then the other switch also, we also have what? Line one, line two, and common. So let's say you have one at the top of the stair and you have the other one at the bottom of the stair. So but in this tutorial, I'll just be placing them side by side, but the distance might be a little bit far from each other, but this is how the connection should be done. I'll just place them side by side here. So let's say this is the one at the top of the stair, and this one is the one at the bottom of the stair. Now each of them, they are one now. So we want to use them to control what? We want to use them to control this particular bulb. We have a bulb, and we want to control that bulb with these two switches now. One at the top of the stair and the other one at the bottom of the stair. Now, this is how the connection will be done. The first thing that we need to do is that after you must have install your pattress, then you put the switch there, the other pattress and the switch. Now you will now run a cable in such a way that the life coming from the consumer unit or your distribution board will go directly to line 1 of the first switch. Then the blue wire, remember, the blue wire this time around, we are not using it as neutral, but it is called blue neutral sleeved brown. So when that one will now come to line 2, for two-way switch, it has line 1, line 2 and common. So the life now has been connected to line 1. Then the other line now, that is another blue cable, now has been connected to line 2. So now, if this has been done to the first switch, what we now need to do is to establish a connection between that and the other switch. So what we're going to do now is that you will now, the line 1 of the first switch, the one at the top, you will now connect it to line 1 of the switch, talking about the one at the bottom of the stair now. Then the line 2, that is the feedback, and now line 2 from the first switch now will now be linked to line 2 of the second switch. Then after that, they are common. You will now loop the two of them together. You join their common together. With that, you can control the two switches from you can control the bulb using those two switches to do that. So you can control it either at the top or at the bottom. Remember, you link their common together, you link their line 1 together, and you also link their line 2 together. So with that, you will get the bulb being controlled from those two axes like that.